So I just wanted to talk about my issues with the film music because I saw it and it was literally one of the worst pieces of absolute shit that I have ever seen in my entire life. And like I took my sister to all those Allegiant, Insurgent, Divergent, whatever the fuck movies when they were coming out. Like I braved through the Twilight phase. That was my teens. Like I've been exposed to some real pieces of shit media, and this is one of the shittiest pieces of media that I've ever been exposed to. Um so I guess right away you have a huge problem with them uh talking to Autism Speaks. I'm an autistic woman. I'm very offended by that. Autism Speaks is a hate group. They want to make people like me not exist. Um, and that was very apparent in the portrayal of music as this burdensome, uh, she was depicted as burdensome. She was depicted as out of control. She was depicted as um I mean, the way Maddie Ziegler did her facial expressions and her body movements like made me hyper conscious of my facial expressions and body movements as an autistic person because I was like, "Oh my god, is that what I look like?" Like it she's a 17-year-old girl and she was pushed into it by the adults who made the movie, so I'm not going to hold her accountable for it, but like it's like that joke in Tropic Thunder, you never go full retard. Like she went full retard and it is offensive to watch. She does like donkey face half the time. Um and another problem with the casting of Maddie Ziegler is she does not look like an autistic person. I'm aware that autistic people can come in all shapes and sizes, but Maddie Ziegler is a professional athlete. She doesn't look like somebody who struggles with binge eating due to sensory issues. She doesn't look like somebody who struggles with undereating due to sensory issues. She doesn't look like somebody who's underweight from being on Adderall. She doesn't look like somebody who's overweight from being on Risperdal, Zyprexa, Seroquel, any of the cocktail of drugs that they put autistic people on. I mean, all my autistic friends who are also on medication are chubby. The medicines that they prescribe autistic people in order to stop meltdowns and stop uh certain behaviors, it makes you fat, it makes you gain weight. And she I mean, I guess they weren't implying that she was medicated, but she was severe enough that she should have been medicated. And having a professional athlete play the role of a person who most likely would have either an overweight or underweight body was a little bit offensive. I thought it was kind of cool that they had some body diversity with the male cast, but that boy who was like her peer, who, I mean, spoiler alert, gets killed in like one punch, even though he's a boxer. Um, I I kind of liked him. He was something I liked about the movie. But the I mean, not to be too much of a downer, but every autistic girl I know has been molested, and the scene where Music's mother just lets her down the street and she walks and talks and has a bunch of interactions with a bunch of men, and like I was, my heart was pounding. I was so worried for this little girl. I was like, this kid can't even verbalize if somebody hurts her, and there's you know 15 different men who are interested in her life and want to have some sort of a relationship with her life. And like I don't know, it was creepy to me. I also think the racism is important to address. um Leslie Odom Jr. is a phenomenal singer, a phenomenal actor. He's one of the reasons why I gave this movie a chance, and they literally demoted him to Magical Negro. That's what he was. They used the Magical Negro trope. He suddenly he because he had a brother in Ghana who his brother in Ghana was like music, but in Ghana, which is a spooky poor place, they don't understand autistic people, and so his brother died, and like uh they they have him in this weird romance subplot with the female main character, which is completely forced and just miserable to watch. Um, and they underutilized him. I mean, he had one song, I think, and it wasn't even that great a song. Um, I hated the movie so much that I must have zoned out and missed the AIDS subplot, but of course there was an AIDS subplot, because it's 1995 and we need those still. Uh, but of course the one lone magical Negro character was also has AIDS, and the female lead accepts him, and because she's so special and open minded. And then now I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about the female lead. Fucking hated her. Thought she was an absolute miserable bitch. Could not sympathize with her at all. She was so callous. She was so uh uncaring, which I think is a pretty accurate description of most neurotypical people toward most autistic people. But my biggest problem with the film came toward the end. Not to give too much away about my own life, but somebody very close to me works in a home for severely disabled people. And in this home, they're able to get medicine, they're able to be watched, they're able to be safe, they are able to have peers who are like them, who they can participate in activities with, they are able to have a routine, they are able to have structure in a way that life outside of an institution would not give them. And a lot of them live their absolute best lives institutionalized. That's not a comfortable fact, but a lot of autistic people, especially when you're talking about people who are nonverbal, like the character music, live their best lives with help. And the fact that the female lead decided at the end that she wasn't going to send music to the home was upsetting, because first of all, I mean, she has a huge like relapse in the middle of the movie. I think she gets like 90 days sober. I think that's like her big thing, is she gets her 90 days sober. I'm not even sure if she gets her 90 days, but she's 90 days sober and decides not to leave music at, spoiler alert, not to leave music at the institution. And then when she's talking about it later, she's like, oh my god, I almost left music with strangers. And it's like, yes, bitch, strangers who could take care of her, strangers who were qualified to deal with her meltdown, strangers who were qualified to medicate her, strangers who were qualified to provide her with structure and stability and activities and you know, a meaningful, worthwhile life. You know, they really paint institutions as like this place for the unloved, that like, oh, you only wind up in an institution if your family doesn't love you, and like that's absolute fucking bullshit. Like the people who live in the institution that my loved one works at are very loved. They're I mean, they're incredibly loved. They just, the people who were taking care of them recognized that they did not have the facilities to take care of somebody who was that extremely disabled. And like, I don't know, that was probably my biggest issue with the film, was that they treat the main character not leaving music with the institution as like some big character moment of triumph, and she's special and she loves her sister now and she's gonna make a good life for the both of them, and it's just absolute fucking nonsense. But the movie is about a little girl who should probably be institutionalized, and they make out institutionalizing her like it would be some like horrible, abusive, mean thing. And as an autistic person, There have been parts of my life where I've needed to be in institutions. There have been parts of my life where the most comfortable I was in institutions. Um, Institutions are not bad, scary places for the unloved. They are facilities that are specifically created to help people with these difficulties. Um, that was probably my biggest problem with the movie. Um, and then I guess my other biggest problem with the movie was just that it kind of sucked. Like, the music wasn't great. The characters were all very tropey and one dimensional. The they just didn't do anything special with anything. And they had fucking Aaron Burr and they gave him like one song. Like, it was an absolute waste of time. It was an absolute waste of energy. She should be so embarrassed for putting that out into the world. It All the dialogue sounded first draft. Like, it was just an embarrassing piece of media to watch. And incredibly cringeworthy as an autistic person. But I guess that's my autistic take on Sia's music. Oh, and don't fucking restrain autistic people physically. Don't do it. It's killed them. People have died like that. If somebody is having a meltdown, they probably need a PRN. They probably need a comfort object. But they don't need to be mounted and held down like a fucking animal. Yeah. That was my other biggest problem with the movie, but other people have said that more eloquently than I could. But yeah, all in all, it was just an offensive piece of absolute fucking garbage. And even though the Golden Globes are a joke, if it wins an award, I am going to eat my own hand. So there's that. Yeah, fuck Sia's music. Horrible fucking movie. Kind of fuck Sia herself for making it. A mild fuck you to Maddie Ziegler for acting in it. I mean, it was just bad. It was just a bad movie. It's such a bad movie that it's literally not even worth seeing for yourself how bad it is. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it.